And it's very exciting for us that this webinar is so well taken, and that we have so high interest. And that's why I hope that today we're going to give you something interesting, something good and useful. Scrum, powered by OKRs. But before we start, I'll just give you some overview on how we're going to proceed. So I will mute everyone in order to avoid any kinds of distractions. And at the end, I can unmute and we can have a discussion. Meanwhile, I encourage you to write anything that you come up with, any question or concern or whatever in the chat, so we can come back to this at the end. So let me mute everyone. You will not be able to unmute yourself. But if you have any questions, any concern, any issue, please write in the chat. Also, take a good look at Zoom controls. They are not so user-friendly. Sometimes you can get easily distracted or confused by where is this menu, how can I switch my camera on and off, and so on. Yeah, so that's it. Anything else? Yeah, we are streaming currently, and so if you prefer, I'm not sure that the stream will show the video panel, but if you want, you can turn your camera off. It's up to you. And in general,
bandwidth, I would guess people should turn off.
Yeah, maybe anyway, also for the sake. So let's start then. Scrum on steroids, powered by OKRs. And let's see what are we going to talk about today, because this topic is, I think, interesting. So we have Scrum, something very used technique, used thing that we have for, let's say, how many years? Since 95, maybe 94. And OKRs, which we'll see also a little bit, they're also having a long history. So how they pretty much combine.
Wait. Before we go there, we should do a short announcement for everyone that at the end of this session, we have prepared a really cool special surprise for all of you who survived today's presentation, which is going to be a really short one. We have prepared around 3 hours that we are going to talk. Just kidding, of course. Just kidding. We are going to finish in 45 to 1 hour. And till the end of it, we are going to give you a really special surprise. So stay tuned. But before we start, before we go and deep dive into the topic, now is the time to begin the most boring part of every presentation in the world. And this is the time when the speakers are presenting themselves. So without further ado, this is us. This is Bogi, myself, and Nicola, and we are Agile coaches for quite a while so far. And no, the surprise is not that we are brothers, although we are. You're going to see what this in the end. However, we believe it is important for you to know who we are, so you get the idea why we dare to speak in front of you, in front of the whole world, as we saw in the comments. There are people from all over the world, all places. And we're going to start with something interesting about ourselves. The first thing is that we are coming from Bulgaria. This is a small country above Greece on the map in the Balkans, in Europe. And we actually come from a small town called Dobrich. What we are extremely proud of is our grandfather, who was a sculptor. And he created the coat of arms of our city that is a symbol of our region. And we're extremely proud of him. Other than that, we love delivering trainings on different topics about Scrum, Kanban, and lean processes, whatever you name it. We also speak occasionally on conferences. Actually, this is the picture from the Bristol conference, because we have a representative from Bristol. And we love going in the Alps skiing during the winter. However, our winter vacation was ruined because of the recent COVID events, but we hope next winter we are going to conquer the mountains once again. A bit boring part about our background, we have combined about 20 plus years experience, relevant professional experience working with Agile and with Agile teams. And we have worked with all kinds of companies. Some were startups, big, small, and some of those were extremely large, huge, enormous companies. We love doing trainings, we do consultings, and as we said, we love doing conferences. And actually, this is the very first time we are delivering a webinar. We never done this before, and we just tried to experiment, getting used to that. And also, you can check out our website. We call ourselves Agile Pool. We have created this Agile Pool thing because we wanted to give something to the community. We wanted to share our knowledge, to share our experience. And if you are interested, you can check out our website, agilepool.com. We also have a Facebook page that you can like and follow. We also have an Agile Pool group, so everyone who is interested can join our group, and we can further do discussions there, all for free, of course. And yeah, if you're using LinkedIn, you also can like our page on LinkedIn.
I think the most, sorry, Bogi, the most, I don't know, important thing here is that we're really coming from the practice. So we're sharing things that work for us. We are not sure that all this can work for every case. Actually, I'm sure that every case is specific and every context, but we try to share what we have as an experience, what works, and what we have found as a good or bad idea at some point. So I hope that is going to be useful for you. Yeah.
So the boring part is over. Let's go into the topic. So if you are checking your Facebook, please stop, or Tinder, whatever you're using right now as a social platform. Actually, Nikola, can we start with a story? It's an amazing thing to start. Can you illustrate our topic today with a story?
Yes, surprisingly, I have a story. So as every company or every team which want to get to the top, I came up with this old, let's say, a dream that I have. It's to go to Mount Everest. Actually, I saw someone from Nepal, which means that I'm not sure that everything I'll say will be really correct. So if it's not, please correct me. So going to the top of the world, it sounds like what every company and every organization wants. But how can we really get this? How can we get there? Because imagine that you want to go there with me. And actually, when I start thinking about it, I understood that actually I cannot do it alone. No one can actually go there alone. So what's the first thing that you need is actually a team, but not just a team. You need high-performing team, multifunctional team. You need a team that has all the skills around. So imagine that we are all part of our own team and we want to conquer, we want to submit Mount Everest. And how are we going to do it? Of course, first thing, we need some strategy, some vision, long-term vision. So first thing is to decide how are we going to get there? Of course, what are the options? And there are pretty much many different ways, paths to the top, but the most used one are the north one and the west one. So the first is starting from Tibet, the second from Nepal. So we need to decide where we want to go. So let's say we'll go with the mainstream one, which is the west right. So it's the west with the A in the picture here that you can see. So let's say that this is our strategy. This is our high level one. So what we need next? We need some goals. We need to say, how are we going to get to the peak? So one option for us is to say, okay, our first goal is to get to the camp base, then to get to camp 1, camp 2, camp 3, camp 4 and to submit Everest afterwards. But it's not that simple, because it's not just to have this kind of go in the base camp. Actually, it turns out that you cannot submit the Everest in every time of the year. There's specific time period, which is like month and a half, when you can actually do it. So you need to be there in March or April. But actually, you need to go there at least, let's say 20-30 days up front, so you can acclimate yourself. You can get used to the latitude and so on. Let's say that we get the camp 4 as a goal. Do you know that actually it's the dead zone there? So no one can actually survive in the dead zone. So it's over 8,000 meters, and actually it's camp 4, and you cannot stay there for more than 24 hours. You need to be there at the specific time, because the time frame, the time window for submitting the Everest from camp 4 is really short. You have about, let's say, 10 to 15 hours to get to the peak and to get back. So usually you need to be there at specific time. You need to have enough amount of oxygen, spare food, and so on. So if you want to really get meaningful goals, we should say something like that. We need to be in the base camp, and we see ourselves there in the next March. But we need to be there not after 1st of March. We need to have at least, I don't know, $100,000 because it's very expensive, and you need to hire Sherpas and so on. We need to have at least 5 Sherpas, and at least one of them to speak English. So you can see these are actually the real key result that we want to have, to be there and to have all these things. And of course, afterwards, we can start the actual climbing. What does it mean? It means that every day is a challenge. So you wake up in the morning, you have your goals that you have set with specific key results, but actually you don't know if today the weather is going to be good, if there is going to be a heavy snowfall or something like that. So every day is a sprint. So you just wrap up, you group with your friends and your team, and you decide how are you going to spend the day, how are you going to move forward. Are you going to continue to in the way that you have chosen, or something else? So everything is changing so fast that you need something as a basically every day or every couple of hours are the sprints for ourselves. So I think all this really represents what are we going to talk about. And let's start with what we started with, the first and the last thing, with the team.
So basically what you're saying is that we need a team, a high-performing Agile team. Is this what you're describing?
I think so.
All right. But actually, is this you on the picture here?
Yeah, I'm there. We're a high-performing team in this boat.
Can you explain why are you high-performing?
We're really acting as one, and we're listening to each other. We know at every pretty much point of the time what are we going to do, what everyone is supposed to do. So this is the high-performing team.
This is really amazing. And actually, in my experience, we imagine that when you apply Agile, I love this word, apply Agile, and you apply Scrum in the practices, the expectations are that the teams are magically going to become this high performing, like the picture, like everyone is absolutely sure what are the goals, what should be done, and who is going to work on what. However, in reality, what I experienced, not sure about you guys, but what I experienced is that people start with Agile, start with Scrum, and it's a mess. Everyone is running around in different directions. Maybe they're happy around practices, tools, we play cards, we have sticky notes and all those cool things. But in the end, we are not really that high performing. And Nicola?
Actually, one thing I want to note, I'm not presenting on this picture.
Aren't you there?
No.
Isn't this where you started?
Maybe.
This is interesting. This is interesting. The question is, how can we get from here to here? Nicole, do you have any advice? What can we do?
Yes, actually, this is the reason we use different frames or frameworks that can help us actually get there, to have this high performing team. But you need some sort of structure, some sort of let's say low level mechanism, something that you can use in order to evolve the team, to grow the team, to have some continuous learning cycles and so on. So all this thing actually is the reason that we want to try different frameworks. And of course, Scrum is the most used one. And we're, again, from our experience, I can say that it's not mandatory. You can try any frameworks around, but Scrum is very useful when you want to start. And it's very easy, you'll see. And yeah, it's
actually we love Scrum. Actually, we love Scrum. We almost anytime when we talk about product development or kind of innovation process, we are applying Scrum. And most of the companies in the world are looking forward how to change.
But actually, we also have found that there are many things that are small pain points that can be, let's say, not improved, but we can have something to support them. Bogi, do you have something in mind, like a pain point?
Yeah, well, basically what I can share with our audience today is that when managers hear about Scrum and they hear about Agile, about high-performing teams, and they are coming from a more traditional plan-based background and ways of working, what they imagine is that when they start using Scrum, magic is going to happen. Teams are going to increase their velocity like many times. Do you know why is that? Actually,
I can actually tell you why. Sorry, but actually, I was in a company where the manager has read one of the, let's say, most famous books written by Jeff Sutherland, one of the authors of Scrum, and he saw the art of doing twice the work in half the time. So it's like, okay, 4 times more work. This is the dream of every manager. So he came to me and asked me, Nicola, I need Scrum. I asked him, why? Why do you need this? And he told me, because I need 4 times more velocity.
And of course, it's going to make the team high performing, right?
Yeah.
And the expectation behind using Scrum is this: if you deliver a product or project in 1 month, you're going to deliver the same product in 1 week. Unfortunately, this is not what happens. And we ask these managers when they come to us and ask us, okay, can you help me implement Scrum in our organization? Our very first question is, wait, before we go there, can you name your top 3 to 5 priorities? What are your goals? And what usually happens is that we expect 3 to 5 priorities, but actually there are a bunch of thousands of priorities that are happening, and this is not working at all. So the very first step is that to recognize if everything is a priority, nothing is. So the question is, do you want to deliver up to 64% of functionality that no one uses? Because research suggests that around 45 to 64% of the delivered functionality actually our users don't want. We could not deliver it at all, and we're going to gain the same results. So basically, the work that is maximized by 400 times is not the delivery. Actually, it is the efficiency, delivering the right time, the right things right features in the right time for the right customers. And the question is, do you really want to have 400% more garbage? Can you illustrate this?
I can, of course. Let me share you one example. We were working in a project for a company which was pretty much running big, huge warehouses, and what we had there is, of course, a big warehouse, but we had to develop a system which is automating the processes in the house, and this system was, let's say, very challenging, very complex, and we were not really sure how are we going to deliver all these things. We started as good software engineers to break down the work, to create some designs, use cases, and there was so many different use cases that it was super complex thing. And and actually the other problem there was that we had to be ready with these features and with this solution in a very short period of time, because Christmas was coming and this warehouse was supposed to have this system. Otherwise, the business would get in trouble. So we really went to our top management and said, you know what, we cannot deliver this. It's very complex. We'll not only be not sure that we're going to be on time, but actually we will increase the complexity of this solution, because do you know how many use cases and different cases and processes do you have in your warehouse? So their brilliant idea was not, okay, start working and use overtime if you need so. What they did was that they asked us to go for a week in the warehouse. So we were working a full week in the warehouse together with the warehouse experts, with the people working there. We were discussing the different use cases and difficulties. And actually what happened was that, let's say, a huge majority of the issues, of the pain points, were removed just by something like, you know what, actually this case is very obsolete here. We don't have this, we don't do this way. So basically in many cases we were able to solve issues just by understanding how the things works. On the other way around, we also help these people from the warehouse understand some things about their work that we were able to see through the system that we are building. And it was very powerful. And of course, the end of the story was a huge success. So we managed to deliver the whole service. And and this is the problem that we have. Actually, this problem is also represented by statistics, by different researchers. For example, on the next slide, you'll see that there is this known, this expression that we have the execution gap. So the Harris-Poll group, they have created this study, they have done this study, and what they shared is that only 15% of the teams and the people working can actually identify the organization's most important goals and top priorities. 81% are not passionate and don't care about the goals. They just want to go and type, I don't know,
Go
to work.
From 9 to 5, right? People.
Yeah. And 51% actually spend time on the most important, most valuable, most useful things, and they spend their time on some urgent but not so important things. So I've seen this in my personal experience. I can say that these numbers are really correct.
And actually, I can share something from my experience that is a symptom. How can you know whether your teams are somewhere in those bad statistics, whether they're passionate about their work and what they're doing? As a Scrum Master and coach, what we do is to go to the team and start organizing discussions around what are our roadmaps right now, what are we struggling with right now, what goals should we set as a team. And one of the biggest symptoms to know whether you're in this situation is the developer to tell you, why don't you leave me alone and let me write code? I'm a coder. I have studied coding from years, and I just want to give me the specifications. Tell me what you need to do, what you need me to do, and I'm just going to do it. Why do you bother asking me to take part in this kind of discussions? And do you know how it feels to work in this kind of environment? I'm going to demonstrate this with a really short video.
I run and I run and I run and I run and I get out and I've gone nowhere. Nowhere!
Exactly. You get absolutely nowhere when your developers are running like this. Because yes, Scrum is relatively very easy to apply. It is one of the most famous frameworks, and almost everyone in the society, in IT community knows how to work in Scrum. So what you need is a team, a development team, product owner, Scrum master, and of course the development guys, and you have a product backlog. Nice prioritized list of items that you need to deliver. And you start planning meeting, and the planning meeting starts when you discuss the top priority items and you choose the top ones that you commit you want to deliver for the next iteration. However, is this really the commitment? Is this the commitment that you just pick some items and the team says, yes, we are going to do those items and that's it? Actually, it's not true. Actually, it's a fake, it's a myth that the team is committing to a specific set of items to deliver in a certain sprint. What they craft in the sprint planning meeting is something that we call a sprint goal. So regardless the items, regardless the stories, whatever you call the items, product items, are they user stories, technical stories, or something else, we do not commit to deliver those things. We actually commit as a team to achieve something that is going to bring value to our users and our customers. And once you have that, you can start implementing the strategic features that you chose, or you can actually alter them during the process. And you start over again and again. What we want to say so far, as we started this webinar, is that the high-performing teams have two characteristics, and both are equally important. The first one is that the high-performing teams are delivering the right features for the right users in the right time with the right quality. But this is not enough. The second part of it is that every single individual in the team is actually passionate about the progress, passionate about the product, passionate about the company. So they are actually motivated and they know that their opinion matters. They know that their work means something and it matters to the company and to the team and to the product development. And we want to check with you guys. We have a poll that I'm going to send in the chat window to see how you actually create your goals. So in the chat, you're going to find a link, Google poll, and it's absolutely anonymous. You don't need any account to open the link. And let's see what is the audience experience.
Yeah, let's give them a couple of minutes.
If you have multiple answers, just answer once. Or you can answer twice. Actually, there's no limit on the answers. Someone asked. We are going to give you 10 more seconds. We have 25 answers and 34 people in the call. Maybe, yeah. So let's check. So we have majority that you collaborate with the stakeholders to define your goals to accomplish them, which is, in my opinion, a great place to be. But only 7% actually are given business problems, and the team is fully empowered to define the goals and to accomplish them. It is a pity that a third of you actually say the business owners come to you and they give you the feature list and they say you need to deliver those things in a specific time period, and that's it. This is really pity. And 11% actually don't have any goals. All right, let's go back to the presentation and debrief. So OKRs. So we talked about Scrum and how awesome it is, but we also saw some pitfalls that many of you, as we see from the statistics, have fallen into. That it's all about delivering features. It's not about delivering goals. It's about being a feature factory. And our magic way to solve this issue is to use the OKR goal setting system and to embed it into your Scrum process. And from now on, we are going to give you some practical advices, practical tips, 10 things that you can do to boost your Scrum process with OKRs framework. So before we go, we need to make sure we are all on the same page about what is an OKR. And OKR is an acronym that means objective and key results. So we need both things. Those are two things of the same coin. The term OKR was invented back in the 70s, so it's a quite long time already, about 50 years long. And it was developed by Intel, by a guy named Andy Grove. So the objective is the first thing you need to craft. This is showing you the direction. Where do I need to go as a team, as a company, as a department, doesn't matter. It should be a really short statement. It should be significant statement in terms of value. So you all know when you hear the statement, why is it important? It should be concrete, so everyone is able to understand it easily and also remember it very easily. This is very powerful thing. Everyone needs to remember it. So it is action-oriented as well. It is ideally inspirational. And of course, as any other goal, you have some specific time period that you want to give yourself to achieve the goal. As it was with the Everest story, when you're at the fourth base in the Valley of Death, is it correct, Nico? I'm not sure, but you have specific, in the dead zone, you have specific time frame that you need to, you can be there. So it's the same with the OKR. So it could be really vague when you define the objective in terms of how you're going to achieve it. This is another conversation. So let's go to the key results. The key results are things that are communicating to everyone what it means to meet the objective, because the objective is a bit vague and everyone understands it, but everyone can understand it in a different way. Let's say you have the objective to be the best product in the market. Every person could have a different definition. What does it mean to be the best product in the market? So the key results are aligning everyone into the same meaning of the objective. So with this, think about it. To answer the question, how would I know if I met my objective or I didn't meet it. So the key results should be specific outcomes, and I'm going to stress on that. Those are outcomes and not tasks. We are going to talk this in a bit later. We should be able to measure our key results. Without measurement, we don't have any goal. And it is a crucial thing for a key result to have a number. There is this famous quote, if it doesn't have a number, it is not a key result. As it is part of the OKR, it is also time-bound. It is good to be a bit aggressive so you can stretch your things, your capabilities, your ways of working. You can be a bit out of your comfort zone. So when you are out of your comfort zone, you actually improve, you learn, and it's all about learning as well. Key results should be also realistic, because if they are not realistic, people are going to be a bit demotivated. So you don't want to achieve that. And as a rule of thumb, you should have not more than 5 key results per objective. You shouldn't have two less though, like 1 key result. The sweet number is between 2 and 5. So when you craft your key results, you need to ask yourself, do those key results actually describe what the objective means to be met? If the answer is no, then you need to think again. So that's why we're not having like 10 key results, because we want to focus on the work and outcomes that matter most. Actually, let's explain it with an example. Nicola, can you give us explanation?
Yeah, of course. I think it's very useful to see some real life example. Actually, it's not just in software engineering. Yesterday, I understood that even Bono is using OKRs for his organization that is fighting against poverty and so on. As I gave you the earliest example, OKRs can be used if you want to hike Everest and so on. Let's see what is our OKR that we use for this specific webinar, for example. So our main objective for this webinar was to deliver an amazing webinar. But what does it mean? It's not just a single thing. And how can we know that we are there, that we have delivered this amazing webinar? So we have brainstormed some numbers and some things that we find as a representation of real outcome, not output, outcome, value. And with what we targeted was that we want to have at least 100 or up to 100 participants in the Zoom meeting, 200 likes on our Facebook stream post, and overall feedback at the end 4.5 up to 5. At least 10 questions to be asked in the chat. So this is also a reminder for you. Help us understand if we have created this amazing webinar or not. So if you have any concerns, topics, questions, ideas, write them in the chat, please. We will come back to this at the end.
Actually, we have a feedback form we're going to send you guys in the end.
Yeah, actually, it's the powerful, one of the most powerful things in OKRs is that we have said we target 100, let's say 100 participants, but at the end it could turn out that we have
32,
50, 32, 60, 50.
Currently, we have 32.
The important things is to understand where you started, where you are now, what progress did you make. And this having a number in the OKR is key thing, because it's not just I failed or I succeeded with the goal. In many cases, you have done lots of learnings, lots of value and so on, even though the key result was not 100% met. Actually, we almost never want to have it 100%. We want the key result to be possible, but to feel uncomfortable, to feel that it's stretched, that it's not easy to be achieved. So let's see afterwards some story, because example good, but let's share some.
I have a really nice story.
Yeah, go on.
I have a really nice story back from my ancient development days when I was a software engineer. I was part of this awesome startup company, and we had a really amazing development team. And we were developing this application, was called Flash Mob application, which I'm pretty sure no one of you have heard about. And why do I know it? Because it's dead born. Actually, it doesn't exist anymore. However, why this story is interesting is because when we first started developing this application, the development team was integral part of the decision-making process around the priorities, around how the user interface should be built, around user experience as well. And the business owners were listening to our suggestions, and we were really great collaborating. However, as most startups do, they eventually either run out of money or time, or actually in this case, both. So the money were almost about to end, and the management team was really stressed. The leadership, basically what they did, as opposite of the story of warehouse story, they took charge and took control over every single decision around the product. They gathered alone and they discovered a strategy that is going to help the company to gain revenue and be a winner. However, we were not agreeing as a team around many of the decisions. We were forced to deliver many features for a short period of time. We had to work overtime almost every weekend, and we were not allowed to take any vacation days. And in the end, the result was terrible. Although we delivered everything that was asked for us, but still the company didn't succeed. One of the reasons is because our voice as software specialists and developers was not heard. So
yeah, that's why it's actually very important who is creating the OKRs, because if you have the OKRs just thrown top down, then you have the case with the flash mob application. If you have the case of the warehouse, where actually people are invited in every quarter to give what their top priority goals are, to do some brainstorming up front and to come with things that they find as goals and something valuable. Of course, at this time, also the top management comes and shares their goals, but the whole thing is mixed together. And actually the majority of the OKRs and of the goals are coming bottom up, not top down. And this is a key thing here, that you need to evolve the team, to include the team into creating the OKRs. And as a rule, I can say that more than the half of the OKRs should come from the people, from bottom up.
Yeah, which is basically the idea of Scrum, that you have a self-organizing and cross-functional motivated team that is guiding the process of product development. So although those are two absolutely different frameworks, one is the goal setting framework and the other is a framework for setting up a development process, those could be very easily combined together. And let's examine how.
Yeah, one of the pain points of Scrum is that you're working a short sprint. It's like the day in the mountain. But at the end, you should really know and understand, did you deliver the value? Did you do something valuable, or from this percent of the waste? So how can we understand it? How can we know if what we have delivered in the sprint really worked, really had the value? So if we take a look into the usual Scrum board, we have a backlog with items which go from to do, then in progress, then done. But how do we know the sprint is finished? In many cases, we need some time to understand if these things really work. So OKRs, they give us an additional column, which is, did it work, or what was the value that we managed to deliver, and so on. So this is why we actually can support this never-ending cycle with the hamster and so on with OKRs, which can give us this understanding if we have achieved something useful or not. And now, in a while, in the next slides, you understand how actually this happens. And we have three main options, three main techniques that we can apply. We can use OKRs to define a sprint goal. It's really self-explaining, I think, from what we have discussed so far. So if you want to have good understanding of the value that you want to deliver and powerful sprint goal, it's a good idea to use OKR for the sprint goal. Second option, yeah, go with the second option.
The second option is to define the product roadmap itself using OKRs. And the third one is about the team growth. Remember, we talked about high-performing teams, delivering right things, and also being awesome as a team and growing as a team. How can we do that? Well, sprint goal, yeah, it is clear. The backlog, the product roadmap, on the other hand, is also very intuitive. So what you need to have first is a product vision. And I know most teams don't have vision or product vision or any vision at all. So you need to define this first, otherwise, what are you doing? So the first thing, define the vision, and then gather as a team and define OKRs, different objectives in a path that you believe is suitable to meet your vision. And we're going to propose how you can actually use it with your teams. But before that, let's answer the question, what about the features? We talked about key results are not tasks. So in this case, when you have the product roadmap defined as key results, where are the features? And the reality is this, OKRs and features should be in two different buckets. The OKRs are the outcomes you want to achieve, the things you want to gain as value. And the features are actually your strategic way to achieve your goals. Which one do you believe is going to change more often? Well, obviously the strategy is going to change more often. The goals are still there and they're going to change rarely. So the reason behind this is that we know from research from Harvard Business Review that most ideas actually are failure. Actually, feature is an idea. It is an idea. And 60% of the ideas of features are either having no impact at all for the product success or actually have negative impact on the product success. So this is like the statistics we showed in the beginning, that 64% of the delivered functionality is never used. So we have this repetition, so it should be true. How can we build the product roadmap with OKRs? Well, the first step is to define objectives, only the objectives, and discuss what order do you believe is suitable. After, you define for every objective the specific key results. And afterwards, you are going to discuss what exactly features do you want to build and you believe are going to deliver the key results that you're hoping for. And those features are going to fill your backlog. And of course, they're going to change more often. Then you're going to specify a date for a release, for example. And the last one, the most fun one, is to name your release if you need it. And this is a continuous process. So unlike plan-based approach, we are going to revise the product roadmap more often. And the OKR system is giving us a way to do that. There are three major nested cycles when it comes to OKRs. The first cycle is more bigger in terms of time frame. So let's say every quarter, the whole team gathers together to define the product roadmap as I just described it. And every quarter, the team redefines the product roadmap for the next quarter. However, every month, the team inspects, tracks, and adapts the objectives. Maybe those objectives should be adjusted because it's been 1 month and maybe you learned something. Maybe you identified gaps or you justified some of your assumptions. And you can actually adapt your product roadmap as you go. And of course, after every sprint is ended, you have a sprint review. This is the best place to inspect, adapt, and track your key results that you're currently focused on as a team. That being said, how can we implement the OKRs for the team's growth?
I really like to say that we actually have, every organization has two products. The first one is the product that they are delivering, or the service. And the second one is actually the team. The organization itself is a product which needs to evolve, to produce value, to get better, and so on. That's why using OKRs for teams' organizational growth is very useful. You can take a look at many examples how teams use OKRs to track their progress in the sprints, on the sprint by sprint basis. So it's very easy to define and adjust longer term and shorter term OKRs, and to see every sprint, where are you? Let's give an example. Let's say that the objective is the team to be really cross-functional, to be a team of cross-functional specialists. Key results could be, let's say, for any given task, there are at least 3 people who can do it. All team members score above 80% of the team skills in the skills self-assessment. Every team member shares at least one thing that he or she learns during the sprint at the end of the retrospective. All these things can be measured every sprint. They can change. You can improve them every sprint. That's why these feedback loops that you need to update the OKRs are applicable here as well.
Yeah, and those key results are actually not tasks, those are outcomes. And the actual tasks are going to be the action items that the team defines in the retrospective, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I think we can, Bogi, can you do some kind of summary of what we have spoke so far?
Yeah, we talked about high-performing agile teams, but we need to first understand what does it mean to be a high-performing team. And this is not a team that is a feature factory, that it is just producing new functionalities faster. Yes, it is important to be fast. It is important to produce faster than the competition, but you also need to deliver the right things. And you need to have specific goals that are going to define what are the right things. And also you need mechanism to adjust, adapt, and track your strategy and change it when needed. So we need to move from feature factory teams to empowered, self-organizing, motivated product teams. We love this quote from Marty Kagan. He says that if you're using your engineers only to code, you're only getting about half of their value. So involve the engineers in the product definition, product roadmap process. Ask them. They're going to give you most of the answers. And if you are currently in crisis, those are the people who are going to help you to overcome it. We're going to show you a short video that is going to represent what does it mean to achieve greatness. The video is from SpaceX, and we love Elon Musk and all his doings. So he has this vision to bring people on Mars and bring them there. In his vision, he wants to build spaceships that are capable to bring people from planet Earth to Mars. However, this is a very expensive thing to do. And building a rocket is not like a walk in the park. So he actually wanted to create a spaceship, a rocket, that is cheaper to produce and also able to land itself again on the planet Earth and be launched again. So he's going to reduce the costs of launching rockets many, many times. people believe he is crazy, and this is not possible. Actually, engineers said that even if the boosters or the rocket can land back on Earth, those are going to be damaged because of the high temperature, the pressure, and all the things that happen in a launch. However, let's see what actually happened.
boosters vehicle.
I don't know about you, but it gets me every time when I watch this video. I'm really thrilled. And actually, to achieve things that you never achieved before, you need to start doing things that you never done before. And this is a quote from Stephen Covey. And we really believe that is the truth. However, as we promised, we have a surprise. Should we announce it right now or should we wait?
I think yes.
Let's announce it. So before we go back to the questions, we have a special surprise for all of you. We are actually delivering a Scrum Kanban practitioner course that is online course. It's going to be 4 sessions, each session 3 hours long. And we're going to talk about Scrum deep dive, Kanban deep dive, but it's not just from foundations. We're going to talk about practical tips from our experience, how you can actually combine both in the best possible way for your situation. And all of you right now, you're getting 25% discount on our price right now, which is 300 euro. So you have 25% discount for our next course, which is on 4th of August. And just write us an email with the hashtag promo code webinar, so we know that you watched the webinar, and you're good to go.
Of course, you can get more information regarding the course and the training in our website or in Facebook, in our Facebook page. We're more than welcome everyone to ask us if you have any questions or something.
Yeah, so here are our contacts. You can write us an email, contact@agilepool.com. Facebook, you can write us on Facebook directly in the group, also join the group so we can conduct discussions even there, continue there, build the community together. And let's go to the questions. This is my daughter, by the way.
My favorite part. My
My
favorite,
favorite
she's
part
very
as well.
cute. My favorite part, the questions. So let's start one by one. Let me check. So, hello, blah, blah, blah. The first that I see is, yeah, pick the first, no. Aren't the key results you have chosen for the webinar a bit reactive? Most of them are hard to monitor progress over time and not 100% within your control. Thoughts? I can try answer this question. Basically, it what happens usually that it's out of our control. For example, how much money are we going to gain, or how many users are we going to attract and come to our website and to buy our products and so on. So this is actually the challenge, and this is why we want to measure the outcome, because what if we have just done some things and nobody bought our product? So the things that we want to measure is actually the value, the real output, the real impact that we have made. And in most cases, these are things that are out of our control. But yeah, that's why we want to measure them. Regarding the other part of the question, you need to track them easily, of course. So most of our key results for the webinars were things like how many questions are going to be asked and so on. We usually, we can track this number very easy in every moment. Of course, at the end of the session, we can sit down together and review the end results. So I think it's more, they are currently more than easy to be calculated. Okay.
By the way, I sent a form for feedback in the chat. We need your feedback so we can improve ourselves. As we said, this is our very first webinar that we deliver. What is the second question, bro?
Okay. Please, can you share your slides and recording? Yes. So basically, in our Facebook page, you see the live stream video, and we also share, of course, all the things with you. And
for a small
we'll be more
fee,
than happy.
For a small fee, like 200 euro.
Okay, for free. Just this time for free.
Just kidding. Just kidding. It's going to be free.
Yeah,
okay.
We'll send, of course, and yeah, we'll be more than happy to answer any further follow-up questions or something like that. So what's the next question is, what are your suggestions for a colleague,
graduate
colleague graduate going in project management? Should I certify in Scrum? It's interesting question. Pogi, what do you think about this? Do you need to be Scrum certified?
So although we promote our Coursera certification course, we love to bitch about certifications. Certifications are not important. What is important is what your attitude is, what is your mindset, your knowledge and experience. So if you are a project manager and you want to work in agile environment, then you definitely need to be an expert of agile ways of thinking, working, and Scrum framework is one of the most popular frameworks that almost every team uses or some parts of it. So yes, you need to be an expert in Scrum. Whether you're certified or not, well, it's not so important, depends on the...
Of course, because the question is for people who want to improve and to graduate. Basically, of course, every certification can open a door for you. But the more, let's say, useful thing is not the certification, but the learning behind it. So that's why I really would like to say not that we are delivering a course, but we're delivering a training. We're not giving certifications. We want to train people, to give them experience and knowledge, because this is the thing. Tomorrow, you're going to face all the happenings and the issues, and you need to know how to react and what's going on. So that's why I would say that, of course, every certification is fine. Scrum is very used one. So definitely, if you want to improve as a project manager. It's useful to have it in your toolbox, but the certification itself, it's not the goal. It's the result, of course, of like everyone likes certifications. Okay, hope we answered that question. Next one.
Actually, there's a question. Aren't the key results you have chosen for the webinar a bit reactive? Most of them are hard to monitor progress over time and not 100% within your control.
That was the first one that I answered.
You answered because I kind of missed it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So next one. So if I understand correctly, we need to have sprint OKRs, product OKRs, company OKRs. In Agile, nothing is mandatory. So these are all options. You can try them, you can experiment having them, some of them, all of them together in sequence, whatever. It's about, there is no rule because every case is specific. Let's start with sprint OKRs. You should ask yourself, is our team working on delivering something working? Are they working on something that they understand is making an impact? Do we know actually what we have delivered, how it's going to reflect our customers and ourselves as a business or something like that? So when you ask yourself this question, if you see some gaps, then one good option is to try with OKRs, to ask in the planning meeting, your team, okay, let's imagine that the sprint is super successful. This is the objective. How are we going to understand? What can we measure and how can we quantify at the end of the sprint? How close are we to the success? And you can just log a couple of things. The product OKRs, I think, same thing. Most of the failing, as we discussed, is coming that we're focusing on output, which is features, but we don't really focus on what is really giving value. In many cases, it's more valuable for us to decide which feature actually we don't need to deliver. This can open lots of opportunities for us. Imagine I had this case once. It was very tight schedule. We were behind the deadline and we basically need to deliver more than what we could in a sprint. And one of the team members was just looking in the Scrum board and just said, you know what, these 2 action items or PBIs or stories are not really needed. Let's talk to the product owner. I think that we have this and this, which is actually solving the same problem. And it turned out it's true. And we just removed, let's say, 30% of our scope just because we knew what we want. And of course, OKRs can help us understand, are we there to focus ourselves, to focus as a team, as an organization. So product OKRs are very useful as well. Company OKRs or team OKRs, as we shared, if you want to grow as an organization, as team, can also be used. One thing that I forgot to mention is that it's super useful to use OKRs for your growth, but please don't use them for measuring if you
performance evaluation.
Yes, for performance evaluation. Never use it for performance evaluation. It's not the point. In Google, where they are the biggest advocates of OKRs, they explicitly say we never have in the performance review anything regarding OKRs. Of course, you can use them in order to come with the idea what you have achieved and what are your achievements and good things that you have developed and use it for the performance, but it's never the goal. If you have the OKRs, then you'll be promoted. And the reason is that you'll never actually define challenging goal, stretch goal. Like for us, 100 participants in the webinar. You always say, okay, I'll define 10. And yeah, I'll meet the goal and everything's fine. But long term, this is not helping anyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the end, if I can add my 2 cents, OKR is a goal setting system. So definitely you need goals. Whether you use the OKR as a system or you use some other ways to have goals, it's okay. But you need to have a goal, either for the team, for a product, or the company. That being said, when you start using OKRs, it's like a new pair of shoes. You need to start slowly, one thing at a time. Don't go with all things that we mentioned. Just iterate and learn, adapt till you know, till you master how you use the OKRs. I would like to jump to the question from Nancy. If there is an additional column to the Agile Scrum board, did it work? Does that mean each ticket needs to have a key result? When do you review the key results in order to have enough time for input to the next sprint planning? Are the OKRs for team growth in the sprint backlog? So the first, so there are a couple of questions at once. So each ticket need to have a key result. I would say no. It depends what do you mean by ticket. Ticket usually is a task. So when you have a sprint board, you want to deliver value. You're not focusing on delivering tasks. And actually, if you're using user stories, you have acceptance criteria. And those acceptance criteria could be actually key results that you're focusing on. So you can implement the OKR in your user stories as well. So acceptance criteria, if you define them as key results, that is going to be really helpful. But in the end, sometimes multiple tickets together are delivering a key result. So it is crucial for you to track the overall key results, not just ticket by ticket. I hope this answers the question. Nicole, can you elaborate?
Yeah, the other thing is that this column, it's not really set in stone that it should be there. And the idea here is that usually in Scrum, when the sprint finishes, we are done with the stories and we forget about them. But actually, in many cases, we want to come back, let's say, a couple of sprints back and to check, okay, now we have some input, now we have some sales, or the product is growing. Let's take a look. Do we meet our goals really? So then we can fill this column and backward to see actually in couple of sprints backwards how successful were we, because just done is not really helping. And this is how we can actually understand if we are in the never-ending hamster wheel or if we are really clear on our vision and our direction.
Yeah. When do you review the key results in order to have enough time for input for the next sprint planning? Well, in Scrum, you have daily stand-up, and the idea of daily stand-up is to track your progress toward the sprint goal. So basically, you're reviewing your key results every day, and you can take corrective corresponding actions based on what you have learned so far. So you review your key results ideally every day on your daily stand-up. Anyway, you do that, or you should be doing that. The product owner and the team are working together daily. So examining.
And also at the end, of course, you can use the sprint review meeting. Let's say I'm a big fan of not inventing new ceremonies, new meetings. Scrum is self-sufficient. So just don't create separate meeting for evaluating OKRs or tracking them. Just use the ones that you have. So on the day by day, you can use the daily. On the end of the day, at the end of the sprint, you can use the sprint review where you can track what was the sprint goal, which is actually one of the best practices at the end of the sprint to check the sprint goal and to see do you meet it or not. And what's better thing than just measuring it and say, okay, we wanted to achieve this, let's say 100 points, and we get to the 80. So yeah, it's very important to use the Scrum ceremonies properly.
Okay. And the final question from Nancy is that are the OKRs for team growth in the sprint backlog? And we suggest the OKRs for team growth is a separate document, like the product roadmap is a separate document, like the definition of done, definition of ready. So what is in the sprint backlog are actually the action items that the OKRs encourage the team to invent. So when you have a retrospective meeting, you discuss your key results that you want to achieve, and you discuss what the team can do in the next iteration to influence the key results. This action item is ideally, we recommend it to be added in the sprint backlog so the team can track it and be part of the priorities. Okay.
Yeah, another question that I see is a little bit reversed one. A reverse question. If you want to start with the OKRs, should you go for an entire department or go for sub-department initially? It's a big topic. It depends on what you want to achieve. Usually, if you want to have really stable implementation of anything, not only OKR, you need the will and the support of the top management. So you need usage or let's say the will of the top management the support that you use OKRs. And of course, the more lead by example we have, the better. That means that it's better if the top management is doing Scrum and OKRs and they show by their example to the others. In other cases, you can start, let's say, somewhere in the middle. If you want to create a proof of concept, if you think that there will be some resistance or something like that, it's much better if you implement something locally small just to gain some learning, some results, some success, so which you can use actually then to promote it. But to have real stable implementation, you need top down, and also the OKRs should, as I said earlier, come at least, let's say, 40% top down, 60% bottom up, and yeah, this way you achieve real common vision and strategy, and also empowerment and involvement and motivation of the teams. Okay. Anything else? Before implement OKRs, you should have a self-organized team. Otherwise, it will not work, even if it will work. Even if it will work, it will take a lot of time to achieve needed result. It's a statement, not a question. I'm not sure I understand it fully correctly. Bogi, do you understand?
Well, as you said, it's a question, but ideally, yes, your teams are going to be self-organizing. But as we said earlier, OKR is a goal-setting system. It doesn't imply that your teams are agile at all. You can use the OKR system in all kinds of situations, contexts, and even in traditional hierarchical organizations can actually use the OKRs. Okay, there's a question. Does OKR work for cybersecurity activities? Well, as I said, OKR is a tool for setting goals. You can use it in your everyday life, in your personal life, in your team, in your product, in your company. Whenever you want to set goals, you can use the OKRs. As we give an example, we use the OKR for our webinar. So I hope this answers the question.
Yeah, one OKR equals to one goal. It's just more powerful than just get to camp base 4. But at the end of the day, it's a goal. So if you think that goals are applicable for cybersecurity activities, then yes, I think you always need to have some goal, long-term, short-term, whatever. Okay.
Yeah. And from Artyom, should OKRs come from top down? I mean, what is the hierarchical structure? As I understood, you can have long, mid, and short-term goals. The question is that, is it necessary to get OKRs from top management, and further to break them down for my team? So the topic today is about how you can embed Scrum with OKRs, which is about product development. And the question is about organization, how the organization can utilize the OKRs as structure. So the answer to this question is this. OKRs need that the organization is connected. That means it's not hierarchical thing. Actually, all parties collaborate together to establish the goals. So the top management, yes, it is defining the vision. It is defining the top priorities for the company, maybe some of the OKRs as well. But it needs feedback from below levels to adjust the OKRs for the company, for the strategy.
Let's give an example. For instance, Google, what are they doing? They have yearly OKRs, which are, of course, long-term things, much more strategical than tactical. So, of course, that most of them are coming from top-down, but they have their implementation and validation of the OKR. Of let's say every 3 months, they are checking how they are going with this long-term OKR for the year, and they're reflecting and changing, improving. On the quarterly OKRs which they have, then they have much more involvement. So they create this kind of brainstorming sessions and design sprints, whatever you call it, where actually they ask the teams to come with some goals. The top management is coming with their goals, and they're discussing and brainstorming, creating new ones on top, and then trying to define the ones that are really useful. But as I said, let's say the rule is that at least more than the half should come bottom up, because then you have a real, let's say, involvement, real empowerment, real motivation. If you have been told what's your goal, then it's much harder to be motivated and to try to think more about it. So this is another thing. On other hand, they also have personal OKRs. Personal OKRs, of course, they're coming from the people themselves, but it's good that they have the OKRs on the different levels, and they can actually adjust and do a health check, to do a check if, let's say, my personal OKR is in sync with the organizational quarter OKRs. It's very easy because they're public. You can take a look and see if your goal is in the same direction as the company goal. Okay.
If I can put it in one sentence, OKRs do not cascade. OKRs align. So unlike the traditional waterfall process for goal setting, OKRs are nothing like this. Okay.
The next one is, can you give an example for a sprint goal and sprint OKRs? Are those both complementary to each other? So they could be the same, they can be used together or not. Sprint goal is actually to ask the team to define what they are going to achieve, what's the value of that, what's the problem that they're going to solve this sprint. Let's say that an example could be, we want to make our customers able to pay via, to pay in our online e-magazine, e-shop. We want to give them the opportunity to make payments. So what would be, this is the objective. This is the first part of the sprint goal. The second part is, what does it mean? We need to have at least 3 providers implemented for payments, like Visa, MasterCard, American Express, whatever. Of course, we can, at the end of the sprint, turn out to have only 2. It's not great, not terrible, but this is something that we can measure. In the same way, you can add more and more key results. Okay. Another key result which could be tracked a little bit, let's say after a couple of sprints, would be at least 100 people to have paid in the next month. That's why I'm saying that this is helping Scrum. OKRs can help Scrum to not just lose yourself in sprint by sprint, and you at some point forget what were we doing previous sprint and so on. When you have the OKR mechanism implemented, you pretty much will understand in a couple of weeks or months or sprints if the sprint goal is really achieved or not. Okay.
Yeah. If you're actually using sprint goal, that means you are using only the objective part of the OKR structure.
Yeah, so, I'm not sure if, I think I didn't miss more questions.
I don't believe so.
So I can unmute actually everyone. So if you want now, you can you can share or ask or just say something. So if you have anything in addition, you can unmute yourself and have a quick chat.
First thing, please give us your feedback in the form in the chat that I sent. It is really, really, really important. We want this to continue as initiative that we have to create webinars and share our knowledge, but also learn from you guys, because we know you're experienced people as well, and we can learn from you a lot. I see Johannes has unmuted and maybe eager to speak.
Yeah, I have several things. Maybe we can have also a chat afterwards, because I'm doing also some training activities and I'm in some webinar network. So maybe I have some things I can share, which are not shared here best here. But yeah, I have this general idea of marrying science with agile, lean frameworks or whatever. The problem is that usually in science, people are on their own. They're working on their projects on their own. So there is no self-organizing team. The self-organizing team is yourself. On the other side, there is some kind of stakeholder, because you're delivering science to the community. It's paid by the community in general. So there's that, but it's, yeah, I think there are a lot of opportunities there, because there's a lot of waste. But on the other hand, I can't wrap my head around on some frameworks to try or whatever. And so that's why I think maybe you have an idea.
Yeah, it's very interesting topic to talk about implementing Agile in science. I'm actually pretty sure that you already use a lot of the Agile thinking, Agile ways of working. For example, what is the scientist doing? Scientist has some assumptions, some hypotheses, or some issues or problems that they want to solve. So let's say, I'm pretty sure everyone is doing, if you want to verify, I don't know, 5 assumptions, you just list them by priority and start verifying them one by one, which is Scrum in short. So of course, sometimes you can have some difficulties if, let's say, it's really challenging thing, like you really don't know what are you going to solve, or what's the solution, or because Scrum, Agile, and so on, it works very well with high complexity, but at least you need to have some sort of stable vision. So you need your North Star. And if you're in some science project where, let's say, you need to find cure for something some illness that doesn't have, you don't have your North Star. So maybe still you can use some things like experimenting and so on, but it's a little bit difficult just to have the vision and adjust on your way. But still, again, lots of the things that we assume, for example, core Agile belief is that I know that I don't know. It's very useful in science.
Yeah, thanks. At least something to think about. So
yeah. Okay. Any other comments?
No, I see Nancy. Yeah.
Hello. Thanks for your answers to my questions. I am a little bit like, and sorry if I botch your name, Johannes, in terms of he's trying to bring 2 different things together. And so are we with our team, because because marketing and product development these days are so much, more integrated than in the past, and should be, from my perspective anyway. We are doing OKRs with growth marketing teams. And with our growth teams, we are using the Scrum methodology and frameworks to organize. So it's sort of the combination of product team, marketing team, OKR, So it's, as you can imagine, lots of questions.
Yeah.
And so that's why my questions to you, because we are trying to do the best we can with OKRs for marketing campaigns that market a specific product or service. So it's a very interesting topic for us.
Actually, marketing and sales in general are the place where Agile is used the most after IT, after software engineering. So you can find your certifications and trainings about Agile marketing and so on. So it's totally needed. It's totally needed. My personal observation with a couple of organizations is that for non-IT departments, teams like marketing and so on, OKRs are easier to start because they give you understanding about, okay, there's something that we know. Because if we start with Scrum, in many cases, we talk about definition of done, of some technique. We start reading articles and we see technical terms there and so on. So it's a little bit difficult to make to understand how I can implement these tech-ish things in marketing. And OKRs are a bit easier because it's goal setting. Of course, that marketing has goals and so on. So it's something that is more understandable. And when they start implementing the OKR framework, which is the feedback loops, like we showed in the slide with the different cycles of adjusting the OKRs, at some point you easily can come with the idea, okay, how can we group today and climb the next day, this day in the mountain? So to start some Agile techniques on lower level like Scrum and whatever. I have seen even things from pair programming that can be used. For example, things from extreme programming. For example, pair programming. It's a technique coming that two people are programming together. It's perfectly fine. Let's say I've seen it for lawyers who do create pair contracts or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for us, I am with a company that is well versed in Scrum, and so, but my particular background is through growth marketing, and so to marry the two in marketing, there's a lot more marketing campaigns that need to be run that are not necessarily fit into a sprint framework, but we are trying to fit it within so that we can better align with the product teams. And so with OKRs, that's why my question, when do you review the KRs in order to enter the sprint planning? Because our review and retro is literally the day before sprint planning. So the timing's very tight, especially for marketing, I would say. Product is a little bit less tight in the timing, but marketing's very tight. But again, thank you very much.
Yeah, one short advice: if it's too hard to measure something, find something else to measure. I mean, there are measurements that are easier, and since that they are not. It's not about the measurements. At some point, if you spend more effort on getting the measures and counting and so on, then doing the job, then it's not the right thing.
But it's not difficult to measure. It's more the turnaround time. The measurements
to see the impact. To see the impact. Well,
yes.
Basically, you need to use whatever you need for your context. So experiment and try things. If you never used OKRs before and it doesn't fit in the way we described it, you can try it in your own way. Maybe you are going to do it for a couple of sprints. For example, let's say you're going to define an OKR for a month, not every sprint, but for a month. And maybe your sprints are going to be your tactical approaches to this more longer OKR. So in Agile product development, we expect that the product is going to grow in terms of value every sprint. So this is the idea. We deliver value incrementally and iteratively. But if it's in your case, maybe your iteration should be a bit longer. But your tactical ways of working could be shorter cycles. But to see the final results, maybe it's going to require a bit more time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other thoughts, concerns?
I see we still have 20 people in the call, which means you're interested in the topic, or you just left your laptop.
Okay. If there are no questions or comments, then yeah, again, please give us feedback, use the form. It's very valuable for us. And yeah, just help us.
Yeah, we want to
improve.
organize another webinar. So in the feedback form, you can fill what other topic you're interested in. So we can organize a webinar about your topic next time.
Yeah, and don't hesitate to contact us. We really try to create a community of Agile people who share things and so on. So get in contact, and we'll be more than happy to discuss anything that you have. Okay. Thank you, people. Thank you, everyone. It was a huge pleasure.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, everyone. Bye. You too.
Have a nice day, morning, whenever you are, because
Yeah.
people from all kind of the world.
Here it's evening. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I'm closing the meeting. Bye, everyone.